What's the definition of love? Really, it is when you put somebody's needs and consider their needs to be just as important as your own.
A lot of us Africans fell victim to that. Feeling stuck. I was feeling stuck because I have to deal with a whole lot of nonsense because I didn't have my paper because I was afraid. I didn't know what's going on, what I'm going to do if this marriage failed. That's it for me. I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to do that. So we always let to settle for things. You have to deal with a situation. She was entitled to everything. So she feel like she knows better than me. I can't say one or two words. Anytime I say something, it's a chaos. We're always fighting and everything and beefing and it's argument because I says that is not a good idea. And every time I say that's not a good idea, it end up not being a good idea. Another time I find myself to say, okay, this is it. Then until the time I just say, okay, I give up. I can't do it no more. This is what I'm going to do. As soon as I left that relationship, she started falling in roles. A lot of us do not understand that. So we tend to stick to that because we are afraid coming from a motherland. We don't know what to expect. Sometimes it might be good for you. If you leave that relationship, it might work for you, it might not work for you. They have nothing. I was in complicated suicide at that particular time. Like, what the heck is this? Or maybe I should just go back home.
This grown man was crying, but the guy was literally bawling. They say men don't cry, crying like a baby. So again, it's an African setting. So I think someone who's married an African man or married an African woman, like, you need to know that. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Lost Legations. I'm your host, Brother Mike. Today we complete our series on marrying differently. In our last episode, we had a Lagosian, our very own Shope, who actually is married to an African American, and we discussed their marriage and dealing with those intercultural differences. So if you've not listened to that episode, I'll encourage you to go ahead and do that before jumping into this episode, as this is a continuation of the episode titled Marrying Differently, Part 1. I also like to say that if you would please share this with someone who you think might benefit from it, or someone who you think this might be of value to, I think that would be really appreciated. Please leave us a feedback wherever you get your podcasts. Those go a long way. Thank you, and hope you enjoy this episode. If an African man marries an American woman, the perception is that sometimes the African man can be considered as being controlling. But marrying someone like Queen, who's understanding of African culture, that is not always, she doesn't always think that way. She gets it. She understands who you are. Do you agree with that now, Queen? I mean, is that because you are exposed, you've traveled, you've been to all these places, you've been to Africa, you kind of get that a little bit?
I would say it's probably going to be hard to make generalizations without it being specific differences based off of personality types, and just because people are different, period. Right. So I understand where he's coming from, what he's trying to do. But maybe in general, there was a lot of stuff that just doesn't have to be said because, like, I have more of an understanding, or this is not my first time dating outside of my culture, so maybe there's like a level of comfort for me that brings a level of comfort for him.
Understanding.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But something else I wanted to talk about is, apart from that piece of it, how about like with finances? I mean, if someone is married to someone from their culture, there's this feeling that, okay, because we're from the same culture, we get each other. There are certain unspoken rules about how financial situations should be managed. But I know a lot of couples' finances can be a big deal for them. So how would you say your cultural differences as an African-American woman and an African man, how would you say that has helped you navigate that?
Let me speak on that, because that's something I've been thinking very deeply about. Here recently in our marriage, it's become evident that money is like a source of trauma
in every marriage,
for sure pay. But for me, I never worry. And I asked Shorpay this one time, because I was like, have you ever heard me worry about money? Like, I don't worry about money. I might have a really nice salary today. I might be working a temp job tomorrow. Like, But then when I file my taxes at the end of the year, everything always comes out better and better from year to year. But I'm willing to make difficult choices, and I'm not willing to sacrifice certain things just for money. So our views on money are very different. But I have like a level of security that I don't chase money, but I know if you do the right thing, the money will come. But for him, and we both grew up poor, but American poor is different than,
African poor.
than African poor. I
Right.
acknowledge that. But for him, how he grew up, I feel like he wants to see certain amounts in the bank, like at all times. And then if it goes below a certain amount, or let's say he sees an amount there and then you pay some bills or you move some money around and he doesn't see there, that's like that could be almost traumatizing for him. And I was talking to his sister about it, and she was like, yeah, because of how they grew up and because of the number of people back home that are depending on their success and like waiting on them to build houses and to invest and to, there's just an added layer of pressure. And I'm also a person in my family that it used to be more so in the past, not to that extreme now, but I do know I'm one of the few people in the family, like if somebody needs, more than $500, they know that they can ask me and I won't ask a whole lot of questions. And I'll just, under certain circumstances, I'll be able to work that out.
So what you're saying is the cultural differences matters because as an immigrant who is from Africa, you're always worried about that need for security.
Always. Money for him, money provides security. For me, stability and like my own sanity is what provides security. Because if I have that, then I can make more money. Like as long as I have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a brain, I can always make more money.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy balance between, it's kind of the extremes where you want to be, they say if 2 of you always agree, then 1 of you is not needed. So if there are 2 people that always agree on something, then 1 of you is not really needed.
Let me speak on that. It was totally true. She should really understand. That's why I say that when you find a woman here in America that understands, she totally understands that, and she captured that very, very nicely. Because growing up poor, when you grow up poor without having nothing, right? You don't want to go back to that same situations.
Yep, never.
You never want to find yourself like man, I'm back to this. This is not what my mom wanted for me to do.
That's right. This is where I ran away from.
So basically, in my heart, in my mind, everything that I do is pertaining to that. My mom would never want to see me this low. So I always got to upkeep myself, going for the best, hitting the best, trying to make the best, make sure this is okay. And for you to be okay in this society nowadays, you got to have that quality. You got to have that paper. You got to have that bank account looking good. So whatever situations or trauma that come your way, you'll be able to handle it. Okay?
You have that cushion.
You have that cushion, something to back you up. So basically, that's how I see it. Even though I have a wife, a partner, that's there for me. But for me, as a man, I'm thinking the opposite. I want to be there for them, not there for not for our being there for me, because I'm supposed to be the provider, the protector, the one that shields out from all that.
So, the source of security.
Source of security. So I'm looking at that like we're gonna need these because at the days, the weeks, the months, and the year goes by, we get to that point that's gonna be our definition of surviving. That's going to be because we're going to get weak. Our bones are not going to be as strong as much to be sticking things.
As we get older.
Yes, we get older. So we're going to need that security. So I'm always thinking about safety. I always think about building. I always think about financing. I always think about growth in that area because in this environment, that's all it is.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I can relate to that here. And I can say that I've been in situations where like I was almost at the edge of like falling off back to that African experience where, oh my God, I have nothing. And what we, especially African men, experience is some things that, sometimes like African Americans may not experience that. And that is a situation whereby Like I just have one job. I have nowhere to go. I've got no brother, no sister, no mom, no dad, no uncle, no aunt, like
Yeah.
zero. Nobody to talk to. I'm here by myself. And maybe 2 or 3 friends. But my friends are also hustling. So I think being married to an African who is kind of all here by himself, it makes things worse. He can put some pressure on the relationship versus someone who's here, even if you don't have money, you have a childhood friend you grew up together. You have your mom, you have your uncle, you have your cousin, you have your nephew, you have your niece. I think we we don't really we don't really understand the value of that societal comfort,
It's that community that you
that
guys
community that you have.
American have, or
Yeah.
American have. Like my kids, I can say my kids, they don't care about that stuff because they have that. They have that shit. They have that grandma. They have this. If I don't have it, their mom have it. Their mom don't have it. My wife have it. If this don't have it, their grandma.
Yeah.
They can go to. But when you are 100 kilometers, millions of kilometers away in a foreign land, you don't have so much to lean on.
Mm-mm.
They have to, because when you say, okay, how I'm here now trying to establish myself, but you also have people now back home depending on you. So now you have like, okay, what is this? The stress level is high. I gotta take care of my family and this and I gotta take care of the family back home. Because they'll be like, okay, you just there, you not do nothing for us. For us. You're supposed to go there as our hope. You're like the
What do you call that? Yeah, I'm thinking of your word. You are the one that escaped.
everybody. You're the one that escaped trying to make it up. So when they look up to you, like you should be able to make their life at least a little bit more less stressful than it is. So when
Yeah,
you,
I
so
agree with I agree with that. And I think on the relationship, that puts pressure on relationship. So a personal experience for me was when I was getting deported. Like, I came to the US, here, student visa, whatever, whatever. But I couldn't pay my tuition. And I literally was getting deported. This was, like really. So how do you, there are many immigrants that go through that.
Right.
Many that go through that, especially during the Trump era. And even today, or even during Obama deported a lot of people. And those guys are in relations with African Americans who sometimes you get to a point where you are dating this African American woman, it could be a white woman, whatever, and the person is like being dramatic. So you're kind of like, I don't need you. I came here from my country, I stressed out, I survived, I made it through. And you get to a point where I have friends that have been in situations with racial relation, whatever, whereby the wife is all acting up and the guy, in some cases, the woman is like, you know what? I don't need you. I'm fine. I'm going to tough it out. I'll pull myself by the bootstraps. So all those things also affect relationships where you really have no one to turn to. And I'm not making an excuse, but I think getting into an intermarital relationship, that's something to think about, because that new spouse becomes their support.
Right.
That new spouse becomes their livelihood. That new spouse becomes everything. Now, Quinn, what do you have to say?
Let me ask something for not Quinn speak. A lot of times, a lot of us Africans fall victim to that. I fell victim.
What do you mean fall victim? How do you fall victim?
Because
feeling stuck.
When feeling stuck. When I get in my first marriages, when I was in my first marriage, I was feeling stuck because I have to deal with a whole lot of nonsense because I didn't have my paper, because I was afraid. I didn't know what's going on, what I'm gonna do if this marriage failed. That's it for me. I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to do that. So we always let to settle for things that is not what we have to.
It's not the best position.
Best position. Like, you understand what I go. You were there with the situation I was going through.
Yeah, I remember that.
You have to deal with a situation that the one with the let me say, it's like my previous marriage, she was entitled to everything. So she feel like she knows better than me. I can't say 1 or 2 words. Anytime I say something, it's a chaos. We're always fighting and everything and beefing and it's argument, because I says that is not a good idea. And every time I say that's not a good idea, it end up not being a good idea. Doing this, buying this, we shouldn't buy this, that's not a good idea. And it always end up that way. And another time I find myself to say, okay, this is it. Then until the time I just say, okay, I give up. I can't do it no more. This is what I'm gonna do. Right. As soon as I left that relationship, she started falling in roles. But a lot of us do not understand that. So we tend to stick to that because we are afraid coming from a motherland, we don't know what to expect. Because damn, sometimes it might be good for you. If you leave that relationship, it might work for you, it might not work for you. Now you find yourself in a hardship because I was in a hardship after that relationship was over. I was break bound to my bone. Like I really have nothing. I was in complicated suicide at that particular time. Like, what the heck is this? Or maybe I should just go back home, and just go back home and just deal with the situation. But going back home was not even an option because people are going back. I'm going to be so I have to pick up my boots and strap it back on and just keep fighting and just keep moving. And if you have my sister, she would tell you the same thing. I just keep on moving, taking it by day.
Yeah, I would just say that for on the opposite side of that, a lot of the messages that I received in my life and even up to now were more so there's always a next. And I know there are some Black Americans that do feel stuck as well, like they fall victim to their circumstances and feel that there's nothing more, and they just like kind of give up and accept their fate and don't actively try to do anything different. But for me, the messages that I've received was that there's always next. So I always had a level of comfort when it comes to change. Change was like the only thing that was constant for me, whether it be by choice or through circumstances that were outside of my control. I never really been afraid of change because I always knew that there was something else. And if I didn't like that, then there's something else. But that has caused, I think in this relationship, that has caused a level of insecurity for sure, Pay, because he knows how I move. But maybe that brings him a sense of insecurity, like, oh, well, dang, she don't mind just getting up and going. Is she gonna leave me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, very, very good point. What I was going to say earlier was about people who are actually from the same country. It happens where a lot of like one of the parties come to America and then they realize what societal benefits are available for the women or for the men, and they take advantage of that. I mean, there are people that come here, and even those that are married to people who are like African Americans, but their parents are like from Lagos or Nigeria, but their lifestyle doesn't relate. I know a couple of friends that have gone through divorces or that were contemplating divorce, and it's because the woman just literally just took advantage of the man, or the man took advantage of the woman. And I think in any relationship, you want that relationship to be your source of comfort, like your rock. That this person is, I got this person. And some people come here, and what they do, like when I was going through my time, I almost got deported. I mean, I had a church that I relied upon. You need that kind of support. But again, the church, the pastor has to like you, or somebody else would like you. And if they don't like you, then you're on your own. So the relationship, for those who are getting into like interracial relationship, or it's, you need to be ready for that. It might be easier if you have someone who's already set, but if somebody is not set, you need to know that's what you're getting into. You have to be up for that. And maybe that's what you like about that person. There's the ups and the downs, the tenacity, and the ability of that person to fight. That person is a fighter. And if someone can fight through war, fight through a repressive government, or if someone who was here through asylum or whatever, that person could probably make it in life. So that's kind of what you hedge your bet on. And some people I know, when I was in college, some of my friends that got together with other, like white women and stuff, not African American, but Caucasian, a lot of them were able to just say, okay, they believed in something different and they value that diversity. So part of that is also valuing diversity. And it may be, well, this guy I'm married to, or this woman I'm married to, they have no family. I'm all their family. I'm all they've got. And I've got them too. So sometimes an immigrant, you have nowhere. Then you have friends too that they have their own demons they're fighting, But I don't know if Narcoin, I don't know if you get that. I don't know, maybe you intellectually get that.
I can't, like, not really, because I come from a big family, and so everywhere. Like I've literally moved to the Caribbean and my grandma was like, "Oh, you have a cousin on the next island." And I'm like, "What?" Like so
Yeah.
yeah, and I met her. I had never seen her before, but as soon as I saw her face, I was like, "Oh, yes, my relative. She looks like me."
She looks like
So
you.
I never was alone. No matter I could go anywhere in the world, and my grandma would be like, "Yeah, so and so lives over there, right there."
Yeah. Yeah.
So nah, I don't really have that. I don't really have but
Yeah.
here living in Seattle, I would say it's very isolating.
Mm.
But I have a cousin that moved up here, shortly
Mhm.
after we did. But
Mhm. And the point is not that those are your cousins. The point is not that they're your besties either. It's just that you have some
yeah,
family.
it's somebody. Like if
Yeah.
shit hit the
If shit hits the
fan,
fan, yeah.
she would be here. Like
Yep.
if I
Yep.
said come now, like she would be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Well, what I would say with that is that, like she was saying, like everywhere she goes is always a family. But like we Africans, everywhere we go, as long as you left Nigeria or your country, you don't have that much of a family. Now you have to create a community of friends. And once you do that, then you become comfortable. If you don't have that family, that friends, you won't go too far. And even those friends that you're going to be attached to, they all have their own
Circle.
circle, and they all have their own issue that they have to deal with. So you can never rely on them. You only have to rely is on yourself, because those people have 10 million people back on counting on them, just like they are counting on you, your own side of your to do things so that mentality is very hard and harsh on us over here in America. So it's good for American, let me say African Americans, since they have cousins, have this, have that. They can always fall back on some things, and they always got someone that always got get their back or can catch them when they fall. When we fall,
You got no one. Yeah. I can add to that by saying, even with being around, I feel a little different.
right?
I've got someone who knows me
Mm-hmm.
from 2 weeks after I got off the plane 20 years ago. That's different. Versus someone who's here who I was telling, I don't know, the other day, but I needed a ride or I had a flat tire or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I called someone and the guy was like, "Hey, call Uber, like you have a flat tire,
Mhm.
just call Uber." Life is a journey. People meet you at different points in life. And the older you get, the younger people met you, the better the relationship, like your family. That's why family is important, because the family met you when you were born, or they met you when you were on your baby shower or whatever, or
Right.
your naming ceremony. Yeah. So they tend to have a longer relationship versus a friend I met 2 years ago. But if you're here, you've left the country 20 years ago, and you are traveling because you're in America, you got to do two jobs, you got to do odd jobs. You're always all over the place, hopping around. You tend to not build those long relationships. And whenever you find a long friend, like it's like a lost sheep out of 100, you want to hold on to it.
Right.
Yeah, it's deep roots. Somebody told me this metaphor, and I kind of use it to describe friendships. Like if you're a tree, the trunk of the tree, you have some people that are like your deep roots that are going to be there like your anchors no matter what. Then there's some people who are your branches that kind of connect you to other people. And then some of your friends are going to be like leaves that just change with the seasons. And so, like that one to me, I'm just like, okay, are you a root? Are you a branch? Or are you a leaf? And it kind of removes the judgment, and it kind of helps you put things in perspective to know that, okay, if a friend comes and goes, or if the relationship doesn't work out, it's like, okay, they were just a leaf. It's okay. They were here for a time in the season. They served a purpose in my life, but it wasn't meant to be forever.
In Nigeria, some parts of Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
they believe that your spouse at some points, even the parents actually,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the Yoruba tribe, they believe that the spouse ends up becoming your mom. So when your mom is a lot of moms are like, you can't marry my son,
Yeah.
or a lot of moms are like, you can't marry my daughter, because they want someone that will replace them in taking care of their son. because the son is like so precious to them. So they use a phrase like the son is like their husband. It's a cultural thing where they're like, oh, my son is my husband. They actually call them my husband. So in a way, whoever marries her, marries me, or marries the husband is considered as someone who is going to be the mother. So
I
the
think
responsibility of the wife is to act as a mother.
Hold
Take care
on.
of
Yeah, I have something to say about this. The first time I came in contact with that concept was when I was living in the Caribbean and I had started dating a young man. And his cousin told me we all worked together at this little restaurant, and his cousin told me, "Oh, now that you're with him, you can do his laundry. His mom doesn't have to do his laundry anymore." And I was like, "But what do you mean?" And so what you're mentioning, like it was very cultural, and she was basically letting me know that the things that his mom was doing, like now as his partner, you're going to be expected to do those things. And I was like, whoa, 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 and so it gave me a different impression of okay, like, am I ready for this? Am I signing up to be somebody's caretaker? But their relationship didn't work out because I didn't really agree with some of those roles, and in this relationship, sometimes I teach short pay and I'm like, okay, am I your secretary? Because I work from home, and him being on the road, there's a lot of tasks that he'll need me to do. And it's, something small, but he can't do it because he's not there. And I'm like, dang, like, am I your secretary? And it's not necessarily that, but I know, like, I'm more organized, I'm more on top of things. And so, like, I understand, but I do think there's a boundary with it. Otherwise, it can be like, it can end up feeling like one-sided, or it can end up feeling like, I'm taking care of another child or an adult child that's not pulling their weight. So I get, and I appreciate you saying, because I get the cultural implications to it, but you
Yeah.
gotta be mindful of what that makes the wife feel like. Because it's like, okay, well then who's here to take care of me? You know what I mean?
mind you, in my circumstances, my relationship is that I don't really need no one to take care of me. I can really fully take care of myself. What I was implying to is the little things. It's not like major things like, doing the laundry. When I get home, I can do my own laundry. When I get home, I can do this. I can do the things that I can. But if I'm home and you are out, it's just like I'm home and you were out. You were right there by what I need. You can go get what I need. And I ask you to go get it. And you says, no, you can't do that. That's a problem. But like for something, if I'm home or mom, or let me say I'm out, and you call me, it says, hey, babe, I want you to go do something, or shopping. Can you go do this for me? Can you grab this? I'm already out. Yes, of course I can go do that for you, because now I'm out of the house. You just not
Yeah, out and about.
in the house at the same time. So that's what I was speaking on.
What's the definition of love? Really, it is when you put somebody's needs and consider their needs to be just as important as your own. And I think that's what you're talking about here. Like, if is that person really considering you and your needs as important as theirs? Go ahead.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm talking about is not that.
Okay.
But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that culturally, when a woman is married to an African man, the expectation is that that woman basically acts as a role of the mother. And that might be a stretch, I get what you're saying, Nakwin, but acts as the mother in the sense that whatever he needs to eat, the mom. So think of a mom and a 2-year-old. That's literally what that means. Whatever he needs to eat, I feed him. Whatever he dresses, I feed him. Runs around, I do this, X, Y, Z, I do that. What you're talking about is that their role is as important. But what I'm talking about is their role is more important, because you got a 2-year-old who's screaming his lungs off. You stop everything you're doing, you attend. And it's both ways. So also the husband is going to be, okay, what does my wife need right now? Mm-hmm. And is that situation whereby putting that person's need above yours? Is that selfless? I'm a mother. and I'm going to give you everything. You know, you're hungry, my baby. What do you want? You know, and the same thing applies to the husband. The husband is just okay. What does my wife need? What's going to make her not hurt? What does she want? Baby, what do you need? You know, happy wife, happy life. You know, so. But what you're saying earlier was basically as important. That's not.
Nah, I hear what you're saying, but that's not my experience. I'm not that woman. I'm not that woman that's gonna treat my husband like my 2-year-old child. Like that's just not.
I no, but if it's
me,
reciprocal, would you? I'm asking a question. If it's reciprocal, would you? If there's a reciprocity.
I don't know. I think I just have more of a practical approach to the whole situation, and
What he's trying to say is that
with what you're describing.
what trying to make sense of is that an African mother. I'm not saying any other culture in Africa. Our mother will not give you the light in the day if they know you can't take care of their kid.
There you go. Yeah, marriage, whatever. Yep.
You're not the right woman. You're not the right wife. You don't deserve him. That's what he's trying to imply. It's not about what you're going to do. Is that they say, okay, I do this for my child. I raised him to be this. I raised him to do this. I did this for him. Can you do that? Can you fulfill their needs? That's what he is trying to say in that stuff. What he was implying to. So the African mother tends to have difficulty of handing their child over to another woman again, and especially they can go even farther deep. They're going to try to know about your family, your mom, who your mom is. They don't worry about the dad. They won't worry about who your mom is. How did your mom treat our husband? How did your mom treat you as a child? How did your mom raise you? What kind of woman is your mom? So they judge you by that. That's what he was talking about.
I think some of that makes sense in terms of from the mom's perspective, because if the relationship doesn't work out, then the mom is going to be back burdened with that adult son. You know what I'm saying? And right. So like in terms of preparing herself to be relieved of that burden.
But it's vice versa too. It applies to the daughter. In this case, it's the dad. The dad wouldn't want to give away the daughter to a guy who can who can take care of the guy. So is that right? And that's what's expected also. That's what's expected also. Someone who's marrying an African guy or someone who's marrying an African woman. It's expected that you know that the father. When I was at a wedding, was it before COVID? And this grown man was crying because his daughter was being given. Like the daughter wasn't crying, you know, but the guy was literally bawling. They say men don't cry. But I was at this way, the man was crying like a baby because his daughter was getting wetted off. So again, it's an African setting. So I think someone who's marrying an African man or marrying an African woman, like you need to know that.
Right. He's liquidating his rights to his daughter, the safety of his daughter.
Exactly.
Impose into the hand of another man is giving her away. Let me see that have no say so whatever to his daughter no more. So basically now the safeguard is to the husband. So most men can act like that. Like, okay, hopefully that man take care of her. Not a man that going to wake up one day and put 2 knives to my daughter's head and do this to my daughter or something. Like most stupid Nigerians that do this sacrifice spiritual things that they do in Nigeria and all that stuff. So yeah, I understand how the man feels. If you're giving your daughter away, you want to make sure that's the right man that's going to make sure your daughter is safe and, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, but somebody who's married into an African relationship needs to understand that and be aware of that. Yeah. And it's different from like the Caucasian setting. You know, it's a little different. It's different from African Americans, actually, where once you're 18, they kick you out, you know, of the house. The Africans don't do that. I mean, a girl will be 30. She's still living in her dad's house. Right. You know, like 35. She's still with the dad's house. The dad's to take it. The dad don't care. He's not complaining about anything. Yeah. That's the culture. Same as a man, you don't expect to marry to probably your well-to-do. And you might have to be late 30s, mid-30s. So that
doesn't mean they won't nag you to go get married.
Of course, yeah. Yeah. But, yeah. But that translates into the marriage as well. It translates into the marriage. It's kind of interesting conversation, but I think overall, what would be your advice, Natcoin, for someone who's going in to someone who wants to marry a Nigerian, for example? What would you say to them?
I really would highly recommend that people don't pick a partner just because of their identity, but try to get to know the individual, because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into saying, oh, I only date this type of person, I only date this type of person, because the background alone tells you nothing about who they are, and then there's messages that we receive as Black women that I've heard a lot. African men are controlling, like Sharpay was saying. And some of that, I would say some of that I've kind of seen directly too. So, but you can't really just take one person's experience and generalize that across a whole community of people. You have to say, okay, maybe this is maybe this provides some extra information that kind of like helps me have a general idea, but you always got to get to know an individual, and you can't write people off just because of their identity, or you can't necessarily say just be exclusive because of an identity, because I feel like that's too limiting. You got to get to know the individual and find out, is this individual somebody that I could see myself with,
Right. While you're talking about African American culture and stuff earlier, I was thinking about, like, I know a lot of us say, like, have you heard of the term like akata? Have you heard of that before? You've never heard of that before? Okay. So it's kind of like Africans call African American women akata, AKATA. What that means is basically someone who's like different, someone who, some of it can be considered derogatory, but a lot of times I think, as far as there's love, most people who love each other, I think that's what counts. Culturally, I know a lot of Nigerians, if someone's married to African American, like, oh, he's married to an Akata or a Black woman or something like that, and the perception is kind of like they're crazy, or they act weird, or they want to be baby mama and they just want to be drama and stuff like that. But like, to your point though, what you're saying is very, very on point. And that's that you have to get to know the person beyond the surface. There was a guy who, I can't think of his name right now, married his wife when he was in Italy. He's actually a part of a rock band. He plays in a rock band. He went in, met the wife, spoke no Italian, like zero. And they fell in love, because at the end of the day, the advice he was given, the language kind of hides a lot of things. To your point though, if you get to know people, because with language, if you remove language, can you know someone in a different way? Can you get to love them in a different way?
It forces you to communicate on a deeper level if you can't understand each other's words. But I understand that, because for most of my career, I worked with children, and many of them didn't speak using words, but I could tell exactly if what they were trying to tell me through their behavior, through their reactions, through their facial expressions. So yeah, I can understand how that could be a possibility to get to know someone's personality. There's so much and I think almost it might be better, because sometimes words get in the way and we miss a lot,
When you have someone who you're married to who doesn't necessarily speak the same language as you, or you guys have a language barrier, and this happens a lot during wars, where people go to war and they just fall in love, you can kind of see that person beyond that surface.
Right.
And also some of that cultural perception, you see beyond that as well. So as humans, if you're stuck on an island with someone who's not your tribe or your culture, and there's just one guy, things will still happen. There's still the chemistry. You guys will still fall in love anyway. So I agree with that, and that resonates with me 100%. I don't know if you had any advice, I guess, for folks who are getting into this kind of relationship.
I was gonna say real quick to Brother Mike, and sex is universal language anyway too. So. Oh
yeah, right. That's another right. That's a way of communication. Yeah, that's a language. Yeah, I agree.
We all are the same human being. Doesn't matter if you're Black, white, Puerto Rican, and everything, but it's just not the way society has programmed our mind and our brain. You just gotta be into the individual person that you really love to rest to them. It doesn't matter if they're African. It doesn't matter if they are American, Black American, Indian, whatever it is. It's just that one person that you find attractive, that you love, and you care, you know, and you want them to be your companion that you seek for. And most people don't like interracial relationship, and some people don't care, some people don't mind. But for me, being with an African and American, I don't find that as interracial. I just find that we are the same. The only time I feel myself being in an interracial relationship when I date outside my race, like dating a white person, or even though like some cultures like Indians, like most Indians, they're blacks. Even though if I do date them, I feel outside my
your race,
my race. And vice versa. If I date an Asian person, or let me say, Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, I'll feel outside my race. But if I date an African and American, I don't feel outside my race. I don't feel outside my culture. I don't feel outside anything. I feel the same because we are the same people. We are the same chemistry. We are the same mindset. Where we are just raised in a different environment, right? But it's like for me dating an African American, it's like me dating an Igbo woman,
right?
My tribe. It's like me dating a Cameroonian, a Ghanaian. It's like me dating a South African, a Kenyan woman. It's just the same way I feel just dating an African American woman. I never feel different. I never feel like I went outside my race because I was dating within my race. So to me, when we say relationship, no. Mine is we still involved. We're in the same mindset. We're in the same culture. We're the same Black people. We're never different. I never see Black American different from African, or African different from Black America. I just think we all one, and we just need to start focusing on that instead of trying to create a stigma that separates us all the time. And she learned to just connect the dots and just says, we are brothers, we are sisters, we families, we all, and we are just got to learn how to live with one another.
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, on that note, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for following us on all our social medias and also social media handles. And thank you for also leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye now.